Right, welcome back. And to highlight this regional trip the President is carrying out we have with us over the phone His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi. Your Excellency, good afternoon. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Your Excellency.
Good afternoon. I said good afternoon, and I said, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you so much. And we're speaking about this visit, or the three visits, the regional visits the President is carrying out with. We'll start with his arrival to Armenia, where he is supposed to be holding talks with the Armenian President, coming from Azerbaijan. So how do you view the importance of such a visit, the timing of the visit, and the significance?
I am so satisfied, and even I can say I am happy to see these activities. We are restoring all our files which were almost closed before, because Armenia, Azerbaijan, and other countries were a part of the old Soviet Union. Then, after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the collapse of Berlin Wall, now we have independent countries, several independent countries in Asia who were part of the old Soviet Union. Ukraine also was part of this, and this would explain part of the problem we are facing now. But anyway, we recognize Armenia, we recognize Azerbaijan since their independence, 1991, and we have exchanged ambassadors. I have the pleasure to meet some of them in Cairo. A few minutes ago, you were presenting the Armenian ambassador in Egypt, who talks very good Arabic. In our history of diplomacy, the Armenians were helping the Egyptian diplomacy abroad. Even, I think, a couple of ministers of foreign affairs previously, during the time of Muhammad Ali Pasha, they were Armenian, because they can talk languages and they can have good connections with other part of the world. So, and if you were in my generation and lived in Alexandria in the 50s, up to the 50s, there were a lot of Armenian community in Alexandria. We are acquainted with them. And up till now, you can find some few Armenian still living in Egypt. And when there were a sort of aggression against the Armenian, they found a host place in Egypt, and many of them came to our country in order to have safe haven here. So the relations historically are very good on the level of the persons. The two people are very close, and we consider them a part of us. If you go to the mechanic sector in Egypt, many of those who were preparing or repairing our cars, they were Armenians. I was a consul in Rio de Janeiro, and I met a couple of them. They talk beautiful Arabic, and they're still working in the mechanic function, and they were very close to us when we were even in Latin America.
Your Excellency, if we can speak about the visit of the President to this part of the world. And we're speaking about a first visit to India, followed by Azerbaijan, followed by Armenia. The significance of this area, the prospects of relation and cooperation with this area, and we'll speak definitely about India alone.
Yes, it is adding new dimension of our foreign policy. Of course, we have traditional presence in the Arab community, the African community, and the European community, mind you, also United States or Russia. But those small countries which were not independent, we have to put our seal there to say that we are still there, we are still your friends. We have to change benefits from whether trade or investment or industrial cooperation and so on. India was very good chance to renew a very strong relations between Egypt and India since Mustafa al-Nahas Pasha and Gandhi and Nehru, Gamal Abdel Nasser with Nehru, who established the movement of non-aligned countries and the movement of the developing countries, which is now 139. It is the largest voting group in the United Nations. All of this we can benefit, of course, politically, security, and above all, in the economic field, exchange of trade and investment. So it is a continuous process, and I am happy to see our President, God help him, traveling all the time to bring back those dear friends and dear partners in all fields of our interest.
Right. The president is in Armenia, where he is back from, or he has just concluded his visit to Azerbaijan, and where he met with the Azeri president. Let me here say that this is the first visit by an Egyptian president to Azerbaijan. And it is also the visit that comes after a visit of both presidents, the Armenian and the Azerbaijan presidents, to Egypt in 2022 at the COP27. If I may ask you here, sir, opportunities of cooperation between us and those two countries, and means of collaborating in different regional issues, particularly issues that are putting stress on the whole world.
This is a good part of our foreign policy when it comes to the international and regional conferences. The COP27, we hosted hundreds of presidents of the whole world came to us. And that was, of course, a chance for the two presidents to meet in brief, because it was international conference. And I think I can imagine that the idea of inviting our president to visit Azerbaijan, it came when their president came to Egypt, and he sees the opportunities we can create and interest between the two countries, which we can hold and we can continue, and even establishing new files and new circles of interest for the two people, whether in political matters, security, trade, investment, also in the field of education. Mind you that Azerbaijan, 95% of the people in Azerbaijan are Muslims. Thousands of them are studying at Al-Azhar al-Sharif. We have plenty of envoys from Al-Azhar to teach the Arabic language and to teach Islamic Sharia. So the interest files are many, and in visits like that, we can create much more than you can imagine, because on the ground, some businessmen from Egypt are accompanying our president. The concerned ministers are there also. So this is what I call the presidential relations, which is really very strong and can create more and more interest for the sake of the two people.
In India, the president has focused on upgrading relations, already strong and historical relations between us and India, into strategic partnership, where an agreement and a document occurred out of this visit that spoke about ways of fostering relations in different sectors and fields.
Yes.
Yes.
I hope that we can come back to what we established with India and with Yugoslavia during President Tito time, because there was a sort of what we call the tripartite agreement. It was a trade agreement between Egypt, India, and Yugoslavia, which made all the barriers vanished. We were trading without any custom duties or any trade barriers. we want to come back again to this file because the market of India is, my goodness, now India is almost equal the size of China in the people's number, and it's a huge market. It's as big as the whole Africa, 1,300 million inhabitants, a little bit more than the whole 51 African countries. So it's a good chance to be there, to trade with them, to exchange experience, to find where India has better knowledge and better practices concerning information technology. We need this because we started to export information programs made in Asia by almost $4 or $5 billion annually. This is very good, and we want to increase this 10 times at least to reach a good level of exports. Mind you that we are seeking to export by 100 billion. So this is the way in order to expand your market. And on the other side, we are marketing for Egypt, telling our Indian friends that if you come to Egypt and invest and produce in Egypt, it is not only the market of 100 million inhabitants, but Egypt is having a trade agreements with the Arabs, with Africa, and with European Union, which makes our market almost 2 billion inhabitants. This is a very attractive way in order to bring more and more partners to come to make use of this privilege and to make use of the place of Suez Canal, because Suez Canal is in the middle of everywhere in the world also.
Yes, indeed. Your Excellency, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for being with us and for your input. Before we continue with our discussion, let's have a quick break and we'll come back. Right, welcome back, and back to our discussion. And I guess to highlight this visit, we have with us over the phone Dr. Yumna Hamai, a professor of economics at Ain Shams University. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Right, so the president has just arrived in Armenia, coming from Azerbaijan. That comes on the heel of a 3-day visit to India, and this region is very much new to our perspectives. How do you view the significance of this visit to this area and prospects of cooperation?
Actually, we can see nowadays severe challenges that are confronting world economy. And this is emphasizing to a large extent the importance of South-South relations. And this visit of President Sisi is coming in order to strengthen our relations with South countries, and on top of them, India is playing a significant role, since India nowadays can be regarded as a very important economy, doing quite well economically, surpassing COVID-19 and the Ukrainian-Russian war, since India can be regarded as a country that is relying on itself for economic growth. India has succeeded to build quite a strong agriculture sector for achieving the food security, as well as industrialization relying completely on technology generated by Indians instead of referring to Western technology, and this is quite clear in several industries, Indian industries, as well as being quite remarkable in the field of information technology and communication, since India can be regarded as outsourcing to multinationals in this field. So from here it comes the importance of India, specifically in this period, and according to studies predicting the position of India in the world economy for the coming period, predicting that India is going to achieve a significant rate of growth for the coming period compared to other countries. And Egypt is doing quite well by referring and by enhancing and strengthening our economic relations with India. Another very important remark regarding our economic relations with India is about our balance of trade with India. When you refer to our balance of trade with India, on contrary to what is the situation with China, we can see that this balance of trade is remarkably balanced between import and export. Our trade relation arriving to $7 billion, approximately 3.5 as export and 3.5 as import. Compared to China, we are importing with more than 12 billion and exporting only 1 billion to China. So this is another signal to prove that India can be a very important and balanced partner to Egypt, as well as the MOUs that have been signed are all referring to enhancing industrial relations by attracting investors from India, and they are quite very wealthy investors, to come and to invest in Egypt. This can be quite important for Egypt nowadays when we are trying to attract foreign direct investment, as well as enhancing our capabilities of exporting to the Indian market, that is a huge market, and can absorb to a large extent part of our exportation. Besides that, we cannot neglect tourism, and we have very wealthy Indians that can be attracted to Egypt for tourism. So all these areas of cooperation can be regarded as quite important for our economy for this year.
Dr. Yumna, we're speaking here, before I delve into India, let me speak about Azerbaijan, where the President held a number of meetings with a number of businessmen and CEOs. And in light of Egypt's endeavor to turn into an energy hub, I guess that the issue of energy, particularly the new and renewable energy and the natural gas. That was part of the president's talks with businessmen in Azerbaijan before he arrives today in Armenia. How do you view prospects of cooperation between Egypt and Azerbaijan and Armenia in new areas of cooperation, particularly in investments?
Yes, of course. For Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan is a very important country full of resources, specifically, like you mentioned, in oil and gas. We can have a lot of cooperation between the two countries. And I believe that, like you mentioned, that Egypt is looking forward to be a hub for gas industry as well as oil. And we have several agreements in order to achieve that goal. So Azerbaijan can play a significant role in this perspective.
Right.
Regarding Armenia, this is another dimension. Why? Because Armenia is a part of Eurasian free trade area, and Egypt is looking forward to have a free trade area with the Eurasian countries that include Russia and Armenia. And I believe that having a free trade area with this block of countries that their GDP arrives to more than $30 trillion can play a significant role towards activating the economic activities and attracting investment, as well as strengthening trade between Egypt and this group of countries.
Right. As for India, if we speak about India, because this visit illustrates a kind of momentum occasion that heralds a new era between Egypt and India, who already enjoyed a very strong historical ties. If I may ask you here about opportunities of collaboration, because they are enormous, and if I may ask you about Egypt's bid to join the BRICS, Egypt, India as a member of the BRICS, and Egypt as a gate for all Africa.
Of course, this is quite important, specifically when we add the area of Suez Canal. The area of Suez Canal can be regarded as a very important location that is joining, two parts of the world, and I believe that by attracting investment into this area, like you mentioned, Indian, we are looking forward to have like what we are having as a Chinese industrial cluster in this area, and another Russian industrial parks. We are looking forward to have Indian industrial parks in this area to benefit from the importance of geographic location of this area to address African countries as well as Arab countries. And don't forget that we have a partnership with Europe too. So this area, by transferring technology and specifying industries that can penetrate all these areas, I believe that this is going to offer for investors in this place, particularly huge opportunities for achieving profit.
Dr. Yumna, the visit of the President to India, Azerbaijan and Armenia all come at the invitation of the leaders of those countries. Why this area? Why this whole area at this very particular time?
Actually, this whole area, in order to diversify our relations, not only to rely on Western countries in our economic relations, we need to diversify our relations so that to alleviate any risk from just concentrating on one area. And this is quite reasonable when we take into consideration the challenges confronting the world economy nowadays. And by attracting investment is the gateway to enhance trade, as according to our studies as economists. So by enhancing, foreign direct investment from these areas, we are enhancing trade. And by doing so, if we can activate that with agreements to exchange currencies, we are reducing the demand for the dollar and the repercussions of that. So this is another area that can be added into economic advantage of such visits. So I believe that it needs from us a lot of work, not only just because it's not a matter of signing MOUs, it's a matter of how to activate these MOUs into action plans that can be applicable in reality and offer opportunities for our youth, for opportunities of jobs, because this is what matters at the end. To what extent you can enhance investment, having more opportunities of job, upgrading skills so that for those youth to be able to catch such opportunities. So from us, it needs a lot of work to be done, and it's not a matter just of signing MOUs.
Very much indeed. Yeah. Dr. Yumna Hamai, Professor of Economics, Ain Shams University, thank you so much for being with us and for your input. And I guess yet to see the conclusion of the President's visit to Armenia, part of this regional visit the President carried out which were described very much as fruitful and successful. That comes to the end of our coverage, and stay tuned for more coming up.